It's been a long time coming, but I'm finally reviewing that Simpsons game. No, not that one. No, not that one either. You know, the good one.
The Simpsons have been around for what feels like forever. Beginning with small animated shorts on a Tracy Ullman show in the late 80s, the series eventually blossomed into what has come to be regarded not only as one of the greatest animated series in history, but one of the greatest TV series, period. That is, up until around seasons 8 and 9, and then it takes a serious nosedive sometime into the new millennium, oddly enough around the time this game hit the shelves. And yet, for some reason, it's still going. God help us all. The question is this game reminiscent of the classics we know and love?
Amazingly, yes.
Woohoo! The game opens with a suspicious wasp camera ominously approaching the Simpsons house and entering through the window. Homer destroys it and discovers Krusty is endorsing a new cola, Buzz Cola. This first level sees you control Homer as you explore Evergreen Terrace and the surrounding neighborhood. There's also a pretty invasive tutorial from Bart, which I would say is annoying as hell if it weren't for its self-referential humor.
Why did I agree to do this stupid tutorial? It is so boring.
Driving around feels surprisingly smooth. As you progress in the game, you gain access to new cars through various means. You can purchase a couple of cars from Gil in every level, as well as a vehicle from a resident of Springfield. A new car can also be obtained after having completed all 3 street races dotted about a level, headed by Milhouse, Ralph, and Nelson, under the supervision of Patty and Selma of the DMV.
This state should get some child labor laws.
Once you've earned or purchased a vehicle, you can use a telephone booth to access it. Oh, and if you destroy a car, you can either pay to fix it using the phone booth, or collect one of many wrenches that just happen to be lying around. Jolly fortunate, that. I also love that you can still drive your busted car's chassis around at a snail's pace.
Go on! Almost there!
I go, girl.
Woohoo! You can also hitch a ride in any of the vehicles around town. It's sort of like a seriously toned down Simpsons GTA, only not nearly as violent, obviously. Speaking of violence, each level contains a number of wasp cameras to destroy. These oddities have appeared all over Springfield, and it's your job to get rid of them by kicking them into pieces. Though this is admittedly far less satisfying than hitting pedestrians and watching them writhe about in agony.
Honestly, it doesn't matter how often I've played this is always hilarious.
Ow!
Not again!
You have many personal problems, don't you?
Good times.
There are also a number of gags in each level. These are random humorous things you can activate, and often they reference the series.
Can't sleep. Clown will eat me.
In addition to that, there are 7 cards to collect in each level, each depicting an item from classic Simpsons episodes, and finding a full set in a level unlocks a multiplayer minigame track that can be accessed from the main menu. Though to be honest, I don't have much to say about these. The music is annoying, the tracks are annoying, and the camera is annoying. I'm not sure if I'm alone here, but the default overhead camera is so awkward to use, and every time I start one of these races, I'm forced to change the settings so that the camera is fixed behind me. It's not all that enjoyable. Fortunately though, the main game is nothing less than compelling. Towards the beginning, the tasks seem miscellaneous and don't really adhere to any kind of plot. For example, the tutorial mission simply requires you to drive to the Quickie Mart to obtain some cola and ice cream, while the next couple see you race Skinner to the school to deliver Lisa's science project and trace all of Flanders' quote lost items that Homer has taken for himself and carelessly left around town. Marge then tells Homer he's late for work and that it's the day of his workplace evaluation with Mr. Smithers. Homer visits Lenny, who reveals he's seen Smithers at the Quickie Mart.
I'm gonna need a car with a little more junk in the trunk if I'm gonna take him out.
Occasionally, you'll need to purchase new vehicles to perform certain tasks. In this case, you need Barney's Plow King to destroy Smithers' car to buy us some time, I guess.
Well, that's a bit morally questionable.
Parenthetically, every level contains a bonus mission, an optional mission, the completion of which gains you access to a new vehicle. In this level, for example, you have to collect cardboard tubes and some tobacco for Cletus to earn his pickup truck, a vehicle just as fast as and far uglier than the one you already have.
Thanks, I hate it.
Missions that require you to destroy vehicles fortunately do not affect your hit and run meter, which we're surprisingly yet to talk about.
Sorry, I just omitted that minor detail.
Boy, I really hope somebody got fired for that blunder.
Okay, so here's the basic idea. Every time you cause damage to objects about the town or knock down a civilian, intentionally or not, your hit and run meter increases. Cause enough destruction and the cops come after you. Yeah, the police are disturbingly lenient, especially in the first level as the meter drops pretty rapidly. Guess they're pretty lax about your driving like a lunatic and plowing through the townspeople.
They'll be fine.
Indeed, it's less hit and run and more go on a mass killing spree. And run.
Yeah, we'll let you off for the first 20 or so people you run over. Everybody makes mistakes.
Get caught by the police and you're fined $50. What? Really? That's it? After all the havoc I've inflicted in this game, it makes me wonder how murderer Sideshow Bob didn't just get off lightly with a fine. Anyway, once Smithers' car is destroyed, Homer heads to the power plant, where he becomes suspicious of the security cameras dotted around the workplace, prompting him to destroy them at their power source.
We're on like mission 5, and already we've committed more felonies than your average felon commits in a lifetime.
The walking and platforming controls are pretty bland and unoriginal. Every character has essentially the same basic moves, including a double jump, a jump kick, and a kind of butt stomp move. But these lackluster controls really don't make your exploration of Springfield any less interesting. Indeed, in my opinion, this game showcases the best virtual representation of Springfield to date. Other games have attempted similar, but this game accomplishes such a feat so gosh darn well.
Yeah, I think that's worthy of another woohoo!
Woohoo! Back home, Homer hears news that strange black vans have appeared all over town. Convinced that the vans are spying on them, Homer follows one of them and finds that it leads to Mr. Burns' mansion.
Evil spying is so like him, that wrinkled old monkey skeleton.
Homer heads to the grocery store to inform Marge of his discovery, but she's more concerned with the release of violent video game Bone Storm 2. And how does she protest against it? With video game violence, of course. How very ironic. This mission requires you to hit the Bone Storm vehicle and collect the crates that drop out of it. Miss an item and you fail the mission. The last mission of this level sees you having to race to Mr. Burns' mansion before Smithers can warn him of Homer's surveillance knowledge. But it turns out that those black vans were mere pizza vans, and Mr. Burns has nothing to do with the town's recent suspicious surveillance at all.
What? Still, that should give Homer pizza mind. Get it?
The next level sees Bart take the helm as he's desperate to obtain a copy of Bone Storm 2.
I gotta get the new Bone Storm or I'll be as uncool as Millhouse. I'm standing right here, Bart.
Meanwhile, Principal Skinner is intent on hunting him down for having skipped school today. Lose the trail and you eventually discover Jimbo stole the last copy of the game.
4-finger discount.
Instead, Bart turns his attention to fun practices outside of video gaming.
See how much fun he can have just by putting down a controller and going outside to play?
Indeed, Bart instead decides to search the town to collect illegal fireworks.
Oh dear lord, that's much worse.
I have to say, I love the scale of this level and its design. It feels so much vaster than the first level, and it's fascinating to see so many recognizable locations condensed rather convincingly into one area. In this level, you can visit Moe's, the DMV, and you have ample space to drive around on the Matlock Expressway. It's so much fun to explore this level. Anyway, once we've obtained enough fireworks from various residents, the police are onto us.
Finally!
So we make our escape.
I fought the law and I won!
Unfortunately, the fact that we have the fireworks on us is swiftly forgotten about, as Bart then enlists the help of Comic Book Guy to obtain a copy of Bone Storm 2. But first, he must assist him in racing a fellow nerd to the Java server to be the first to complain online about the new McBain film. Although precisely why we have to be there when all we do is sit in a passenger seat and do nothing is a mystery to me.
Glad to be of service.
It turns out Professor Frink has purchased all the remaining games to somehow run his latest invention, Truckosaurus, for which he also needs a World War II radio and a satellite dish. Bart offers to help, but upon reaching the military antique store, Snake makes off with the radio.
These fresh skid marks leading away from the scene of the crime could be a clue. But who's to say, really?
Finish first in a race against Snake and you obtain the radio. Then Bart visits Cletus to borrow his satellite dish, which he promises if you help him collect roadkill, accompanied by some frankly irritating banjo music.
Make it stop!
Soon afterwards, Frink also tells you he needs a blender.
Obviously.
And where better to find a blender than at the Medical Research Center.
Obviously.
Naturally, the game takes another diversion for a mission in which you need to round up all of Dr. Nick's monkeys for his experiments, using Homer's Mr. Plow truck, which you can buy from him at the hospital for a small $200 fee.
You're charging your own son?
Yeah, I guess I am.
Thanks, Dad. Nothing like a supportive family.
Welcome home, Daddy's little angels. Now, to put electrodes in your brains.
Did you want something, love? The final mission requires you to destroy all cell phone users' cars, as the interference is affecting Frink's Truckosaurus invention. Once Bart gains access to Truckosaurus, the giant Dinobot goes on a rampage. Bart escapes, only to mysteriously disappear in a bright light.
Aliens. Oh, snap.
Next up, it's Lisa, who's on a mission to find out what happened to her brother. I don't know whether I'm in a minority or what, but personally, this is my favorite level. The setting, the music, it's just gorgeous! This level sees you explore the Squidport tourist area, with such familiar locations as the Krusty Lou Studios, Camp Krusty, and the Springfield Dam. We start off at the Android's Dungeon comic book store, and once again, despite our pleas for help, Comic Book Guy insists we help him retrieve a mint-condition Itchy and Scratchy comic before the nerd, meaning the search for the lost child is put on hold.
Can't argue with those priorities.
Comic Book Guy then points you to the Noiseland arcade, where Milhouse sends you on a wild goose chase to find Bart, pointlessly directing you to various locations. It seems Milhouse was merely prevaricating so that he could buy the time to pluck up courage to ask you out, which I think you'll agree is highly inappropriate.
So, Lisa, do you have a date for the harvest dance? This is not a good time.
Bart could be dead, you insensitive prick. You should be punished. A life for a life.
Lisa quite rightly abandons Milhouse and instead turns to Apu, thinking logically that Bart regularly hangs out at the Quickie Mart. And once again we're roped into doing somebody else's busy work as Apu needs help taking down Cletus for his roadkill.
Why does nobody in this town have any sense of urgency? A child is missing and you want me to gather dead squirrels?
Okay, so once you've obtained all the meat from Cletus's truck, Apu instructs you to find Professor Frink on the grounds that he knows stuff. No, really, that's all he tells you.
Perhaps you should consult Professor Brink at the observatory. He seems to know everything.
Well, a lead is a lead, I guess.
Frink informs Lisa of his last sighting of Bart and tells her he disappeared in a bright light, which we knew anyway.
Thanks for that useful information. 3 missions into this level and we're still none the wiser.
Fortunately, Grandpa is just casually hanging around outside the observatory, because why not? And he claims to have seen Bart's lucky red cap fall out of a black car. This next mission requires the use of the school bus, which you can purchase from Otto at Camp Krusty, and sees you having to destroy the mysterious black cars, which, considering the fact that Bart might be in one of them, is perhaps not the best idea.
It's empty.
Well, it is now that everybody's gone up in flames. Lisa then spots Chief Wiggum at the Monty Burns Casino and requests his help, only for him to immediately turn the tables on you and have you accompany him on a mission to bust Snake. Can this not wait, seriously? Anyway, prior to the mission, you need to don an ample disguise, your cool outfit from the episode Summer of 4'2". Only one wonders why I bothered disguising myself when we're pursuing the criminal in a police car, because that's subtle.
Chief, I think you're missing the basic point of being undercover here.
Collect 3 strikes of evidence against Snake, and Wiggum points you to the docks.
Thanks, Chief. You are a good cop after all.
Ah, you're just saying that.
Yes, I am.
While at the docks, Captain McAllister requests that you deliver his fish to restaurants around the Squidport. I'm pretty certain all these places would go out of business if it weren't for me.
Thank goodness for child labour.
Lisa agrees, but obviously decides to save the fish instead. Once we've, distributed all the fish, the sea captain tells you that Bart got into a limousine, so naturally you set out to destroy it, only it turns out Bart isn't there. What a shock.
I'm kind of getting used to that outcome now.
The sea captain then adds that he left the limo and boarded the ship.
Can you take me there?
Nah, I hate the sea.
Eventually we find Bart, but it appears he's had his mind wiped, his pants are soiled, and he speaks absolute gibberish.
Well, after this annoying meandering mess of a level, that's not really much of a surprise.
With Bart home and safe, Marge decides to take it upon herself to find out what's happened to her special little guy. This level uses the same location as level 1, with some minor differences. I'm not sure if it's just me, but after the impressiveness of the first 3 levels, I was initially pretty disappointed that the next few levels essentially reuse the same locations, only at night. Sure, the game missions remain compelling enough, and I guess they wanted to make use of the settings they'd already established, but I don't know, at the same time it kind of feels a bit lazy to me. That said, there is an upside to this. There are indeed some areas that can only be accessed in the nighttime levels that you couldn't before, such as Bart's bedroom and the inside of Burns' mansion, which is pretty cool. In the meantime, a crop circle depicting Bart's face has appeared in a tobacco field. Bart's constant gibberish prompts Marge to follow our master of disguise, Chief Wiggum, who eventually stops for donuts at Lard Lads, which is closed, unfortunately for him. It's your job
Oh no.
to hit the donut truck and retrieve 10 donuts for Wiggum, satisfy his donut craving, and he informs you that the crop circle is near Cletus' shack. Cletus mistakes you for a city slicker and makes haste.
I swear to God, if I have to hear that bloody banjo music again.
Chase him down and collect the items that fall from his truck, and he eventually stops at a gas station, where he refuses to help you unless you first help him gather ketchup packets for the winter. Ungrateful bastard. Cletus then finally offers some useful advice, and on the basis that his own grandfather once saw a crop circle, instructs you to seek out some old people to help you on your quest. Marge meets Hans Moleman at the cemetery, who tells you to talk to Abe at the retirement castle, and to get there before Wiggum closes the place for the night.
Huh? I can't tell you about crop circles right now. Those lousy renegades stole my pills. You darn racket crop circles and praying aggrily.
Sadly, Grandpa is making about as much sense as this game's convoluted plot.
Just saying.
As it turns out, Nelson and the bullies have taken his medication and given it to some guys in a black car in exchange for play dudes. Marge hunts them down, of course, and upon returning, Grandpa falls asleep. with his eyes open, apparently. After obtaining some caffeine pills from the Quickie Mart, Grandpa informs her of a crop circle he saw, the description of which is strikingly like the logo of Buzz Cola. Marge shows a can of Buzz Cola to Bart, and his memory is instantly restored.
That's the alien mind control cola. They gave us tons of that up in the alien spaceship. They're using it to make the town go crazy.
Dressed in her police officer gear, Marge sets out to dispose of all the evil cola cans she can find. She then warns Apu that he's selling a tainted cola, and he agrees to get to the bottom of the mystery, while Marge destroys the cola vans.
And just as you probably predicted, the next level sees us take control of Mr. Nahasapima Petalon. Yes!
Time for me to do that Hindu that I do.
I love the Eastern feel in this level. The music combines bouncy Indian tunes and sultry sitar strings, and it is awesome. It's got a kind of raga rock vibe to it, and some of the tunes are catchy as hell. And to hell with whoever truly believes this stereotype is racist. I mean, seriously, fuck off.
I am a mean Vindaloo machine.
Why single Apu out? There are plenty of stereotypes. In fact, The Simpsons is essentially nothing but stereotypes, because that's what comedy thrives on, you simple-minded, joyless PC cockroaches.
They make me so mad! I need something to calm me down! That'll do nicely.
In my opinion, there's a pretty noticeable difficulty spike in this level. For one thing, the wasps are now protected by a shield and are so much harder to access as they keep flitting about and backing away. What's more, some of the missions are a little more challenging than in previous levels. Apu is in hot pursuit of the cola distributors and takes it upon himself to follow one of the vans and gather cola crates as evidence. Eventually, this leads him to the mob.
You shouldn't stick your nose in other people's business. It could come back to haunt you and your family.
Oh my gosh, your thinly veiled threat has reminded me of my fatherly duties.
Avoiding the mob, Apu needs to pick up the octuplets from the hospital, but it's not all plain sailing.
Your babies are about to go to the bathroom all over my waiting room.
It's your job to hit the car of the Shelbyville 9 and retrieve enough diapers to cover your baby's desperate derrieres, using the car built for Homer.
Goodbye, cruel world.
Krusty then advises Apu to follow a cop until he finds a criminal. Disguised as an American, Apu follows a trail of donuts that eventually leads to Wiggum. Naturally, the criminal we find is none other than Snake. What a surprise. Who claims to be able to help, but only if Apu will perform his community service and pick up garbage for him. Collecting the garbage from the truck isn't too taxing, but collecting the garbage on foot is quite the annoyance, especially considering the rather unforgiving time limit. Once you've returned, you need to accompany Snake in his car Lil Bandit to complete more, quote, community service, which involves you having to destroy an armored truck. I gotta say, I love this car. It's one of my absolute favorites. It's speedy and usually holds together well, but in this case, smashing into the armored truck damages your car more so than the truck itself.
Oh, like no.
I also appreciate the body in the boot. That's neat. Anyway, after avoiding Wiggum, we take Snake back to his hideout, where he informs us that the cola is being made at the museum. Bart then appears and offers to help out, and he and Apu hunt down a museum curator for the key. Upon entering the museum, the cola mysteriously brings a dinosaur skeleton to life. Soon afterwards, the culprits are revealed.
By Caramba!
As it turns out, the aliens have been filming a secret reality show around Springfield called Foolish Earthlings.
I knew there was a simple explanation.
But due to its low ratings, Kang reveals his plans to introduce the cola into the water supply and distribute laser guns at the Squidport tourist area.
The cola-maddened humans will go berserk. I like it. Destroying themselves and their town.
As expected, the aliens maintain their trademark evil laugh. But it still falls short of...
Time is running out, and Bart needs to warn Krusty of the alien plot, so he seeks help from Otto. But what a surprise! He has his own mission for you.
We're dead.
This mission involves collecting school kids and dropping them off at Krusty Loo, which is fortunately where we're headed anyway. May as well kill two birds. Once there, Barney tells us Krusty is at the Squidport, and at this stage of the game, missions become quite annoying. While previously they usually allow you time to enter your vehicle, in this case the mission just starts whether you're ready or not. Hey, how is that remotely fair? Come back with my car! Follow the movie van to Krusty's limo, and then race the limo to the Squidport. Then you get to speak to Krusty, who doesn't believe you. So you set out to find someone smart enough to help prove the alien conspiracy, and pursue Professor Frink in his invisible hovercar. This hovercar is cool and all, but the frame rate drop is pretty noticeable when driving around or following behind this thing. Anyway, at the observatory, Frink reveals he's inadvertently intercepted an alien message.
It says they're hiding the lasers in the Duff trucks.
You need to follow the Duff truck from the brewery and hit it to collect the crates of laser guns.
Where are we putting all this stuff?
As you'll notice, a lot of these missions take place on the docks, which is annoying considering there are so many objects and pedestrians who won't get out of the bloody way. meaning it's hard not to attract the attention of the cops. Bart then finds a laser gun near the Duff blimp and decides to show it to Krusty as evidence.
Clearly you forgot the school's zero-tolerance policy on lasers.
Before you can, though, Skinner confiscates it and you need to destroy his car first. By the time you show Krusty the gun, he's already erected laser gun stands throughout the Squidport. So, using the Globex supervillain car from Kearney, you need to destroy them. I absolutely despise this mission. In fact, this sticks in my mind as being the worst mission in the entire game. The crowds of people on the docks are so awkward to avoid, the vehicle tumbles and flops around like a great big four-wheeled fish, and the time limit is so tight. Once the stands are taken care of, they give you about 50 seconds to return to Krusty, which is difficult to accomplish while trying to avoid everything in your path.
Safe and sound.
Bart then informs Homer of the Duff Brewery's involvement in the alien plot.
This is Duff's worst disgrace since Duff Ice.
Using his 70s sports car, you need to race the aliens to the brewery before they make their escape. The aliens then reveal the cola will cause zombies to rise from the grave and devour the living.
Oh man, that sounds cool.
The final level is inspired by the Treehouse of Horror episodes of the series, and it's very well done actually. As usual, the level is decorated with a vast array of references to the episodes, and do excuse me, for the first couple of missions I am a donut. Just don't question me, okay?
I'm so sweet and tasty.
So anyway, the streets are filled with zombies who are still big on law enforcement apparently. Indeed, the pedestrians have been replaced with brain-dead morons.
Yeah, it's actually not that much different.
It's time to find some supplies to defend ourselves. First, we nab a first aid kit from Flanders, some boards for the windows from Cletus,
Hey, come back here. Them's are sleeping on boards.
and a chainsaw from Mo. Later, Homer encounters Comic Book Guy in a schoolyard who tells him that the alien sorcerer is sucking up pedestrians with a tractor beam. He also tells him the black car nearby is an advanced probe for the mothership, and that Homer needs to use a zombie car in his pursuance of it. Why do they always insist you use cars with the absolute worst handling? Anyway, the trail leads Homer to the power plant, where Frink reveals he's discovered the alien's weakness is nuclear waste. The last few missions essentially see you quickly but carefully transporting the nuclear waste to the mothership, thus defeating the aliens. Once Frink's car is obliterated, you must obtain a map of all nuclear waste around Springfield from Mr. Burns. Then take the nuclear waste to the ship, first using your own car, then Snake's, and finally Grandpa's.
I smell toad! Imagine that, scared of some harmless nuclear waste. So very harmless. Oh, cut your fingernails!
Despite the aliens' defeat, Foolish Earthlings is a major success, and not only is Homer heralded as a town hero, but the alien viewers can't get enough of him either.
Everybody wins.
I'm king of the world!
Okay, so it suffices to say, this is quite possibly the best Simpsons game out there, and it still holds up today. The driving controls for the most part are very slick, and it's pretty cool when certain characters come to pick you up, usually if you've completed their bonus mission or something. There are a whole load of extras to enjoy once the game is completed. In addition to the main street races, there's also a wager race, which you can activate by speaking to Louie of the mob. Completing a lap of the map earns you more moolah. There are also costumes to purchase in each level, all referencing specific episodes of the show, and hey, if you're fortunate enough to find all the collector cards in the game, Comic Book Guy has a surprise movie ticket for you.
A complete set. Ooh, I think I just formatted my pants.
Head to the Aztec Theater and you get to watch the all-new Itchy and Scratchy cartoon. Awesomeness! There's also a secret car hidden in every level. The cars themselves are rarely anything all that special, but it's a neat little Easter egg nonetheless. What's more, if you play this game on specific holidays, the main menu changes, which is also a nice touch. In all, this is a tremendous game, and the disappointment of the repetitious locations in later levels is substantially outweighed by the game's compelling missions, gameplay, and typical Simpsons humor. As you can probably tell from this review, The Simpsons Hit and Run is indeed a big hit. Woohoo!
Bad cops, bad cops. Bad cops, bad cops.
That's a paddling.
Thank you. Come again.